Welcome to The Wise Woman. Today we're summarizing How to Live on 24 Hours a Day by Arnold Bennett, a book that shows how to transform every hour into an opportunity. Stay with me and subscribe for more inspiration. Introduction. Have you ever had that strange feeling that your days are slipping away from you, as if time is flowing through your fingers without you really being able to hold on to it? You wake up with 1,000 intentions, 1,000 projects in mind, but when you close your eyes at night, a feeling of emptiness or frustration sets in. What did I really do for myself today? This question, we've all asked it at least once, and sometimes even every day. It's as if life is speeding up and we remain spectators, unable to take back control of our time. And yet, there is a simple, universal, implacable truth. Each of us receives the same capital of time every morning. Not a minute more, not a minute less. 24 hours. Neither the richest nor the most powerful, nor the wisest has more than you. This invisible but precious treasure belongs to you in equal parts. So why do some women seem to accomplish wonders, progress and flourish, while others exhaust themselves running after the hours without ever finding balance? The difference is not in the amount of time available, but in how it is used. This is precisely what we are going to explore together through the book How to Live on 24 Hours a Day by Arnold Bennett. Written at the beginning of the 20th century, this text retains astonishing relevance. Because, at its core, the problem of time is not a new one. Already at that time, Bennett observed that many men and women allowed themselves to be swallowed up by work, by obligations, by distractions, forgetting that their free hours were a true goldmine. His philosophy is simple but profoundly revolutionary. It is not about working more, but about living better, by learning to transform each day into an opportunity for growth and freedom. What if I told you that even in your busiest days, there are moments that belong to you, that you can invest to nourish your mind, to cultivate your soul, to learn, to create, to breathe? This book doesn't talk about a rigid schedule or a complicated system to follow. It talks to us about awareness, choice, intention. It invites us to wake up, to no longer live our days on autopilot, but to understand that every free hour can become a seed of transformation. Imagine for a moment what you could accomplish if every day you chose to devote just a small portion of your 24 hours to elevating yourself, to reading something that inspires you, to writing your thoughts, to meditating, to creating, to reconnecting with what really matters. These repeated moments, these small daily seeds, end up creating an immense inner garden, filled with peace, knowledge and power. We live in a world where we are pushed to be productive, to check boxes, to run after external goals. But what Bennett forcefully reminds us is that true wealth is not in what we possess or what we accomplish in the eyes of others, but in the way we choose to live the time that is offered to us. Time is the currency of our life. And the question that arises is, how are we really investing it? Today, in this summary, we are going to dive together into the teachings of this book to learn to see our 24 hours as a gift to be savoured and fully used. You will discover simple keys to regain control of your days, to stop being a victim of time and start directing it. Because living fully is not a matter of luck. It is a choice. And that choice, it starts now, with you. So stay with me until the end, because you will discover that the answers you may have been looking for a long time are not on the outside, but in the art of knowing how to inhabit your 24 hours. And if this message resonates with you, don't forget to join our community here on The Wise Woman, a space where we learn together to cultivate wisdom and transform our lives day after day. Chapter 1. Time. A universal treasure. Time is undoubtedly the only treasure that life distributes with absolute equity. Neither the rich nor the powerful nor the most famous have more of it than you do. Every morning upon waking, we all receive the same endowment, 24 hours, not one more, not one less. And yet, this invisible and silent treasure is not always recognized at its true value. Many live their days as if time were due to them, as if this incessant flow would last forever. But the truth, whether we want it or not, is that time is a wealth that is consumed at every moment, and that we do not have the possibility of hoarding it. It flows, it flees, it evaporates, whether we are aware of it or not. This resource is universal, but its value changes according to our awareness of it. Some women fill their 24 hours with nourishing experiences, inner growth, peace, and creativity. Others, in that same amount of time, exhaust themselves in routine, allowing themselves to be swallowed up by obligations or distractions that leave no trace in their hearts. The difference is not in the quantity received, but in the use we make of it. This is why Arnold Bennett, in his timeless book, insists with force: time is our life capital, and it is up to us to learn how to invest it. The great error, as widespread yesterday as it is today, is to believe that time belongs to work, to employment, to those hours that one sells for a salary or that one dedicates to meeting the needs of others. This vision reduces our existence to a monotonous cycle: work, sleep, repeat. And in this cycle, the hours that remain, those so-called free hours, are often wasted, neglected, considered secondary. Yet it is precisely those hours that hold the secret to our freedom. It is they which, used well, allow us to become more conscious, wiser, more fulfilled. How many times do we let this free time be stolen from us? How many evenings are spent in front of a screen, scrolling endlessly, absorbing images or words that in no way nourish our minds? How many hours escape in empty conversations, in repeated complaints, in a fatigue that we accept as normal? If we were to count all these lost minutes, we would realize that we possess an unsuspected treasure, a fertile field left fallow. Seeing time as life capital changes everything, because a capital, by definition, can be invested, can bear fruit, can produce lasting wealth. This capital is your daily 24 hours. Some of them must of course be dedicated to sleep, to the indispensable rest of the body. Others, often the majority, are sold to work, to responsibilities, to necessary tasks. But there always remains a residue, a space, sometimes tiny, sometimes larger, that you can direct toward your growth. It is this residue that makes the difference between a life endured and a life chosen. Imagine a woman who decides every day to invest 1 hour of her 24 hours in something that truly nourishes her. 1 hour of reading to broaden her mind. 1 hour of writing to clarify her thoughts. 1 hour of meditation or prayer to soothe her soul. 1 hour of walking to find the breath of nature again. On the surface, 1 hour may seem little, but if it is repeated every day, that hour becomes, over the course of a year, more than 300 hours of evolution, more than 300 seeds sown in the garden of her life, and sooner or later these seeds will bear fruit. This is what Bennett wanted us to understand. Our days should not be confiscated by work alone. Time does not only belong to us in offices, factories, or household chores, it belongs to us first and foremost. And even the smallest parcels of time can be transformed into gold if we use them with awareness. But for that, we must accept a truth that is sometimes unsettling. We are responsible for how we use our time. It is easy to blame work, society, family obligations. But in truth, no one can decide for us what we do with that half hour, that hour, those moments between two activities. The key is to open our eyes and recognize that these moments are ours and that they constitute the foundation of our inner freedom. Many women live with the belief that they don't have time for themselves, that they must always give, always take care of others, always run after what is expected of them. But this belief is a trap. Time exists even in the most burdened lives. In the morning before the house wakes up, in the evening when everyone is sleeping, in transportation, in waiting lines, in the interstices of daily life. The problem is not the absence of time, but the absence of awareness and choice. If we consider our hours as life capital, then every moment becomes a precious coin that we can spend or invest. To spend is to give in to automatism, to empty entertainment, to passivity. To invest is to choose to direct this time toward what nourishes, elevates, and builds. It is the difference between a life squandered and a life full of meaning. This view of time as a universal wealth is profoundly liberating, because it reminds us that we don't need to wait for the perfect circumstances to start living fully. We don't need to win the time lottery, because the endowment is the same for everyone. What we must learn is to manage our capital wisely, to refuse to waste it on what does not elevate us, to place it every day in small actions which, when accumulated, transform our lives. This is how true inner independence is born, not in the accumulation of material wealth, not in external recognition, but in this discreet mastery of one's time. A woman who knows that her hours belong to her becomes a free woman. She no longer waits for the world to give her permission to flourish. She chooses every day through her 24 hours to build her path. Time is therefore much more than a sequence of passing seconds. It is the raw material of our life. And like all precious material, it deserves our attention, our respect, our awareness. It is not a burden. It is not an enemy. It is a daily gift, offered unconditionally, but which we must learn to honor. By looking at our days from this angle, we cease to be victims of time. We become its artists, its gardeners, its architects, and every hour invested becomes a stone laid on the path of our wisdom and our freedom. Chapter 2. Common mistakes in the use of time. Time, we receive it every day with the same generosity, and yet, despite this abundance, it slips through our fingers like sand. One of humanity's greatest mistakes is to imagine that time is an infinite resource, that it will always be there tomorrow, that it will still belong to us in a week, in a year, in 10 years. We convince ourselves that we always have the leisure to put off what truly matters, and that is how we build a life filled with regrets. This illusion Arnold Bennett denounces with remarkable lucidity. Time is a universal wealth, but we very often make negligent, even destructive use of it. Understanding our mistakes is a necessary step to reorient our days and regain control of our destiny. The first of these mistakes is undoubtedly the most insidious, letting time slip away without awareness. We go through our days like distracted passengers, without ever stopping to think about how we are using our hours. We wake up, we work, we eat, we sleep, and between these moments, we let a continuous flow of hours evaporate without them having left a mark on our lives. It's as if we possessed a treasure chest filled with gold coins, and we let half of them fall to the ground without even noticing. These lost hours will never come back. Unconsciousness is the enemy of a life well lived. A woman who lives on autopilot does not realize that she is impoverishing herself every day. She keeps busy, she bustles, she fills her days with actions that seem necessary, but that do not nourish her heart. She confuses activity with meaning, movement with progress. Arnold Bennett emphasizes forcefully that it is not the great catastrophes that steal our lives, but rather these small wasted minutes, these moments of oblivion, these hours left fallow. It's not about condemning distractions or rest, but about recognizing that a large part of our time flies by without awareness, as if we were sleepwalkers walking through our own existences. The second mistake is to focus solely on professional obligations, completely forgetting about personal life. Many women and men fall into this trap, believing that the value of their days is measured only by the work accomplished, by the tasks performed, by the efficiency demonstrated. Work then becomes the center of gravity around which everything else must be organized. Family, passions, inner growth, health, self-love. Everything takes a back seat, as if it were of less importance. This reductionist view is a betrayal of ourselves. For what is a life worth where everything is dedicated to toil and nothing to happiness? What is an existence where one accumulates professional successes, but where one deprives oneself of the time to savor, to laugh, to find oneself? Arnold Bennett warns us against this tragic mistake. Work, even the noblest, must never swallow up all our energy and all our time. For if we give it everything, it often leaves us empty, unable to taste the simple joy of a sunset, a sincere conversation, or a soothing silence. Personal life is not an option, It is the very heart of our humanity. We must have the courage to recognize that we often allow ourselves to be chained by obligations that, in reality, are not vital. We believe that every external demand is an emergency, that every imposed task is indispensable. But in reality, many of these obligations are secondary, and yet we sacrifice what we hold most precious to them: our hours, our energy, our breath. This is how we forget to nourish ourselves with what gives meaning to life. The third major mistake is the universal tendency to put off what truly matters until tomorrow. Later. That word is one of the most dangerous we can utter. We dream of projects, of changes, of new habits. We want to read more, write, learn, meditate, travel, love better, take care of ourselves. But instead of acting today, we put it off until tomorrow. We think we'll have more time later, that we'll be more organized, more motivated, more available. But that later never comes. Or rather, it comes too late, when our strength has diminished, when our possibilities have narrowed, when life has already passed. Arnold Bennett reminds us firmly that future time is not a certainty. The only reality we possess is the present moment. Each time we put off an essential project until tomorrow, we are actually giving up a part of our life. We think we are giving ourselves a break, but we are stealing from ourselves. And this habit, repeated day after day, ends up creating an existence where nothing profound has been accomplished. It is a tragic mistake, because it makes us accomplices in our own waste of time. Later is a seductive lie. It soothes us by giving us the illusion that we still have a choice, still have control. But in truth, it puts us to sleep and deprives us of the only power we truly have, that of acting now. The essential cannot wait. If we want to write, it is today that we must write, even just a few lines. If we want to take care of ourselves, it is today that we must walk, breathe, rest. If we want to learn, it is today that we must open that book, listen to that word, sow that seed. Time is not a promise for tomorrow, it is an invitation for today. These three mistakes, unconsciousness, obsession with work, and procrastination, are the silent thieves of our lives. They do not shout, they do not strike. They settle in gently, and when we realize it, they have already gnawed away entire years. This is why Arnold Bennett urges us to open our eyes, to get out of autopilot, to once again become responsible for every hour we receive. It's not about turning every moment into a performance, but about giving it value, meaning, and direction. We must learn to live with lucidity. To sometimes stop in the middle of a day and ask ourselves, what am I doing with my time? Is this bringing me closer to the life I want to live, or am I moving away from myself? These simple questions, asked regularly, bring us back to the essential and prevent us from getting lost in common mistakes. For time is a mirror. It reflects our true priorities, even when we want to convince ourselves of the opposite. If we say we love to read but spend our free hours on endless distractions, our time reveals that reading is not our priority. If we say we want to take care of ourselves but fill every day with external obligations, our time reveals that we always put ourselves last. This mirror can be unsettling, but it is also liberating. It shows us that we have the power to change, not tomorrow but today. True wisdom therefore consists of recognizing our mistakes without guilt, but with lucidity. Yes, we have wasted hours. Yes, we have let days slip by. Yes, we have sometimes lived like sleepwalkers. But at every moment, we can choose differently. With every sunrise, we receive 24 hours again, and we have the opportunity to orient them differently. Arnold Bennett offers us a precious key, to consider time not as a burden but as a capital. And this capital, we can decide to invest it differently right now. We can get out of unconsciousness, give our personal lives their rightful place, and stop putting things off until tomorrow. This choice is not easy, but it is liberating. Because every hour saved, every moment reinvested brings us closer to the life we truly want to live. Time is a universal wealth, but few understand its value. We can continue to waste it, or we can learn to cherish it, to honor it, to use it wisely. The decision belongs to us, and we must not wait for tomorrow to make this decision. It is here now that we have the power to transform our lives. Chapter 3. Bennett's Philosophy: Creating Time for Yourself. There is a persistent illusion in life, the belief that we lack time. How many times do we repeat, "I don't have time," to justify not reading, a missed opportunity to meditate, a dream put on hold? Yet, as Arnold Bennett reminds us in his work, we all have the same capital of 24 hours a day, no more, no less. The real question, therefore, is not whether we have time, but how we choose to use it. This is where Bennett's central philosophy comes in, learning to create time for yourself within this daily flow. It's not about artificially adding hours to our days, but about transforming our perspective and our discipline to set aside a portion of this capital for the essential, for what nourishes our mind and our soul. Creating time for yourself is a gentle act of rebellion in a world that constantly pushes us outward, toward work, obligations, demands, screens, and the emergencies of others. We are conditioned to think that we must first give, respond, produce, satisfy, and then, if there is a little energy and a few minutes left at the end of the day, maybe then we can offer ourselves a moment for ourselves. But this logic is backwards, because it amounts to treating what is most precious in us as a secondary option. Bennett invites us to put the priority in the right place, to dedicate time, every day, to what elevates our inner being, to what makes us more conscious, more grounded, more free. From this perspective, nourishing your mind and soul is not a luxury, but a necessity. A woman who takes a few moments each day to cultivate herself, to read inspiring pages, to write in a private journal, to meditate in silence, to contemplate the beauty of a tree or the movement of a sky, is not losing time. She is enriching herself, filling herself with an inner energy that will then allow her to fulfill her obligations with more clarity, more strength, and more serenity. Arnold Bennett insists on this idea. It's not by sacrificing our inner life for the benefit of external efficiency that we grow, but by reserving a daily space to cultivate our deep being. The difference between passing time and investing your time is fundamental. To pass time is to let yourself slip into activities that numb but do not elevate. It's sitting in front of a screen without a specific purpose, mechanically scrolling through images, chatting for a long time without depth, filling your mind with empty distractions. In the moment, it can give the impression of relaxing, but deep down it leaves an emptiness, as if the soul were hungry and had received nothing. Investing your time, on the contrary, is making the deliberate choice of activities that, even if they sometimes require effort, leave a lasting trace on our minds. Reading a book that makes you think, writing a few lines that express your truth, meditating to calm the flow of our thoughts, learning a new skill, or simply sitting in silence to feel your own presence. These are investments that bear fruit, sometimes immediately, sometimes in the long term, but always with a transformative effect. What Arnold Bennett proposes is not an impossible revolution, but a simple daily practice. He doesn't ask us to dedicate half of our days to introspection or study, but to set aside, with regularity and discipline, a portion of our 24 hours for this inner task. It can be an hour each morning, a half hour in the evening, a few moments in the middle of the day. The important thing is not so much the quantity as the quality and the constancy. A woman who chooses to protect 1 hour a day for her personal development accumulates in a year the equivalent of 365 hours, which is more than 15 full days dedicated to her inner growth. Imagine the impact that can have on a life, on a self-perception, on the direction of an entire existence. Bennett also insists on the value of attention. Investing your time is not just about setting aside hours, it's also about learning to be fully present to what you are doing. An hour spent reading but with a distracted mind does not have the same value as a half hour of focused and absorbed reading. A superficial meditation, done while already thinking about the shopping list, does not bring the same fruit as a quarter of an hour of deep silence where you truly give yourself to the moment. Creating time for yourself is also creating a quality of presence, a way of honoring the moment and fully inhabiting it. Bennett's philosophy is therefore twofold. On one hand, discipline and constancy, on the other, attention and depth. The marriage of the two makes all the difference, because many people say they don't have time, when in reality they haven't yet chosen to protect it. Many try to nourish their minds, but in a distracted and hurried way, without dedicating themselves to it with sincerity. Bennett's invitation is to transform this dynamic, to take back control of your hours, to become the guardian of your own inner time. This path is not always easy, because it requires resisting external pressures. Social, family, and professional obligations always seem urgent and a priority. But you have to understand that creating time for yourself is not an act of selfishness. It is an act of love. A woman who nourishes her mind becomes a better partner, a better mother, a better friend, a better professional, because she radiates a more stable and more luminous inner energy. By giving herself time to develop, she also gives others a more authentic and richer version of herself. Arnold Bennett warns us against the trap of believing that these hours of inner life can wait for a quieter moment or a more favourable period. Life will never on its own offer us a space free of all constraints. It is up to us to seize it, to create it voluntarily. Those who wait for the right moment risk waiting their whole lives. Those who understand that the right moment is now begin to transform their existence today. Creating time for yourself is also about reconciling with slowness. In a world that glorifies speed, productivity, and multitasking, sitting down to read, write, or meditate can seem useless or even guilty. But in truth, it is in these moments of slowness that we find our essence again. Silence and reflection do not produce immediate visible results, but they profoundly shape our character, our wisdom, and our inner peace. Bennett reminds us that it is these moments that give density to a life, that transform a mundane existence into a rich and profound one. There is a difference between surviving and living fully. To survive is to run after tasks, to meet expectations, to exhaust yourself in endless obligations. To live fully is to take the time to know yourself, to cultivate yourself, to connect with the essential. Bennett's philosophy is an invitation to choose this second path, and this choice is accessible to all, even to those who lead busy lives, because it doesn't require infinite hours. It only requires a clear intention and faithful constancy. Ultimately, creating time for yourself is a matter of personal responsibility. No one else will do it for us. Neither our employers, nor our loved ones, nor society will come and say, "Here's an hour for you. Take it." It's up to us to take it, to protect it, to defend it like a treasure. For it is by investing this time that we build a solid inner life, capable of withstanding storms and embracing joys. Arnold Bennett bequeaths this message to us as a precious legacy. It is not enough to possess 24 hours. You have to know how to orient them, dedicate them, and invest them in what makes us more alive. Chapter 4. Practical methods for better using your 24 hours. In every day there is a hidden treasure that few people know how to discover. Free hours. We all have 24 hours available to us, but what distinguishes those who move through life with clarity from those who feel trapped in a suffocating routine is how they choose to use these precious hours. Arnold Bennett, in his visionary book, insists on this point with remarkable lucidity. There is no magic to gain extra time, but there is a discipline to reorganize the time that is already there and to put it at the service of our personal growth. This chapter invites us to explore simple but powerful methods for transforming ordinary hours into moments of inner construction. The first method consists of consciously planning your free hours. Many women and men go through their day without wondering where their minutes are escaping to. Professional obligations, domestic tasks, social and family relationships absorb a large part of their energy, but if you observe attentively, you realize that there are always margins, spaces, and interstices of time. It is these moments, often neglected, that Bennett invites us to bring to light and protect. Planning your free hours does not mean filling them with tiring activities. but giving them a clear direction. Instead of letting chance decide, it's about deliberately choosing what you want to do with these moments. This can be an hour set aside for reading, 20 minutes for meditating, a moment in the morning to write, or a half hour in the evening to learn something new. The essential thing is to make the decision in advance, to set this intention as an appointment with yourself, and to respect it with the same importance that you would a professional appointment. It is fascinating to note that when you start to look at your day with this awareness, you discover unsuspected resources. How much time is wasted in aimless conversations, in digital distractions, in repetitive gestures made without thought? Bennett reminds us that 1 hour used well each day represents over a year, more than 360 hours, which is 15 full days. Imagine what you could accomplish if you transformed those 15 days into learning, into creation, into meditation, into working on yourself. The impact would be immense, almost revolutionary. But for that, you must first recognize that time is life capital and that it must be invested rather than spent randomly. Arnold Bennett warns against the attitude of those who believe that free time has no value. We consider our work hours to be serious and important, but our hours of freedom as something that we can waste without consequence. Yet, it is often in these hours that our true evolution takes place. Work nourishes our sustenance, but it is free time that nourishes our soul. The discipline of consciously planning your free hours is therefore an act of inner sovereignty, a way to regain control over your life. The second method proposed by Bennett is to find at least 1 hour a day to learn or reflect. This is not an insurmountable requirement because 1 hour is a tiny portion in the flow of a day. And yet, this hour, if used with regularity, becomes a source of energy and transformation. Reading inspiring books, writing your thoughts, listening to teachings, reflecting on your own experiences, meditating on your choices, all of this gradually builds an inner strength that changes your relationship with life. It's not about waiting to have an entire library of knowledge, but about progressing little by little, day by day. 1 hour of daily reading, for example, allows you to read several dozen books a year, and thus to absorb ideas, visions, and inspirations that profoundly transform the way you think and live. 1 hour of daily meditation or writing allows you to clarify your emotions, to know yourself better, and to learn to manage your thoughts. Many people say they don't have this hour, but in reality, as Arnold Bennett points out, they always have it. What is missing is not the time, but the awareness and the will to take it. This hour often exists in routine gestures that could be reduced, in distractions that do not nourish, in an organization that could be rethought. Sometimes it is found early in the morning, before the world gets busy. Sometimes it hides in the evening when obligations have calmed down. Sometimes it is found in the lunch break, in transportation, in a time that you thought was lost. The secret is to consider it sacred, to protect it, and to use it with intention. The third essential method is to learn to detach yourself from useless distractions. The modern world is full of temptations that suck up our attention and squander our energy. Constant notifications, social media, sterile chatter, endless series, all of this promises us relaxation, but in reality steals our most precious time. Arnold Bennett warns us, if we do not regain control of our attention, we will always live in dispersion, and we will never feel like we have time. Detachment does not mean a total break with these things, but a conscious and measured relationship. Choosing to watch a show, for example, can be pleasant if it is a voluntary and limited choice. But letting yourself get carried away for hours in a spiral of distraction is what destroys the potential of your day. To detach is to set boundaries, sometimes turn off screens, protect your mind from the incessant noise, and give your thoughts a space of silence. Finally, the fourth method, and undoubtedly the most powerful, is to understand the strength of daily habits. Everything we do repeatedly becomes a footprint on our lives. Habits shape our character, our health, our mind. A healthy habit, repeated every day, has immense power, even if it seems tiny in the moment. Reading 10 pages a day, writing a few lines, meditating for 15 minutes, walking for a half hour, giving thanks for 3 things each evening. These are simple gestures that, when repeated, transform an entire life. Arnold Bennett emphasizes that human beings are made of routines and that the question is not whether we will have habits, but which ones. We always have habits, conscious or unconscious. The real choice is whether these habits build us or destroy us, whether they elevate us or confine us. Creating conscious habits is therefore the key to better using your 24 hours. Instead of depending on motivation, which fluctuates, habits anchor in our daily lives gestures that become natural, almost automatic. Once installed, they no longer require effort, but they produce continuous fruits. This is how a daily hour of learning or reflection ceases to be a burden and becomes a second nature. This is how you build, little by little, a rich, balanced, and meaningful life. Arnold Bennett's philosophy in this chapter of life is therefore not to overwhelm us with complicated methods, but to offer us a clear direction. Plan our free hours, protect a daily hour to learn or reflect, free ourselves from distractions and build solid habits. These 4 pillars transform the use of our 24 hours and give us the feeling of having finally regained mastery over our time. It's not an inaccessible dream, but a daily practice, within reach of all those who choose to commit to it with sincerity. When you apply these methods, something profound changes within you. The day is no longer an exhausting race, but a succession of chosen moments. Time ceases to be an enemy that slips through your fingers and becomes an ally that carries you. We stop being victims, and we start to create. And that is undoubtedly the greatest gift of Bennett's thought. To understand that we have already everything we need to build a rich and accomplished inner life. We just need to choose how we use our 24 hours. Chapter 5. The benefits of better time management. Time management is not just a matter of efficiency or productivity, it is above all a matter of life. Every minute we use consciously is a seed we plant in the garden of our existence, and sooner or later, these seeds bear fruit. The true benefit of better time management is not measured in completed to-do lists or fulfilled obligations, but in the inner quality that develops day after day. Arnold Bennett, with a rare lucidity, reminds us that it is not the quantity of hours that matters, but what we choose to do with these hours and how they shape our mind, our heart, and our soul. One of the first concrete benefits is a new mental clarity. When we stop wasting our time on distractions that do not nourish us, when we regain control of our free hours and consciously invest them, a space is created in our minds. This space is no longer saturated with noise, superficial emergencies, and silent regrets. It becomes clear, calm, capable of deep reflection. A person who knows how to manage their time no longer lives in chaos, but in an organization that allows their mind to breathe. They are no longer overwhelmed by permanent confusion. They know where they are, what they want, and above all, they feel like they are moving forward. This clarity is an inner light that guides decisions and makes life simpler, even in its complexity. Another benefit which Bennett himself highlighted is personal development and general culture. By devoting a part of your 24 hours to learning, reading, reflecting, and observing, you build an inner wealth that can neither be stolen nor destroyed. Every hour spent nourishing your mind is an investment that grows with time. Reading an inspiring book, listening to a lecture, practicing a new skill, writing your thoughts, all of this adds layers of depth to our personality. Little by little, we stop being only the product of our obligations and habits. We become expanding beings, capable of evolving, of understanding the world and ourselves more. This process of inner enrichment is what gives flavor to life, what makes us capable of getting through trials and seizing opportunities. There is also a subtle but powerful feeling, that of freedom and control over one's life. Many people, especially in the whirlwind of modernity, feel like they are victims of their days, as if they are condemned to run after time. But when you adopt Arnold Bennett's philosophy, everything changes. You no longer feel like a victim of the hours that pass. You become the author of your own days. This freedom is not an illusion. It is very real, because it is born from conscious choice. Every hour used with intention is an hour of regained freedom. Even in a life full of obligations, even in a busy day, there always remains this deep feeling. I chose how to live my time. And this feeling is one of the greatest sources of inner peace. Another essential benefit of this conscious time management is the ability to give more value to others. When you learn to organize your own life, to nourish yourself internally, to find time for yourself, you find yourself in a new position, that of being able to offer more to others without feeling exhausted. A person who has taken the time to recharge, to reflect, to learn, is more available, more patient, more inspiring. They are not emptied by the constant race. They have an energy within them that radiates. In this sense, better managing your time is not a selfish act, but an act of love toward those around you. By building your own clarity, your own freedom, and your own inner wealth, you become capable of transmitting this to others, whether through simple daily gestures or through larger contributions. These benefits unfold like concentric circles, first within ourselves, then in our relationship with others, then in our way of contributing to the world. And that's where the inspiring conclusion takes on its full meaning. Arnold Bennett understood it. We all have the same capital of time, 24 hours a day. No one has more, no one has less. The greatest thinkers, the greatest artists, ordinary people, women and men of every era, all share this same number of hours. The difference does not come from what we have, but from what we choose to do with it. The key message of this book and this reflection is therefore simple, but radical. It is not the quantity of time that defines our life. It is the consciousness with which we use it. Each day is an opportunity to start over, to take back the reins, to decide differently. Even if yesterday we wasted hours on distraction or procrastination, today can be lived differently. Time is not a ruthless judge. It is an ever-renewed resource. As long as we live, we receive these 24 hours every morning as a gift. The real question is, will we be victims of them, or will we honor them? This is why this message is also an invitation to choose right now awareness and growth, an invitation to look at your day with a new eye, to identify 1 hour, maybe 2, that you can dedicate to yourself, to your mind, to your soul. An invitation to reduce the noise, to protect your attention, to cultivate habits that nourish rather than exhaust. An invitation to transform mundane hours into extraordinary moments, simply because they will have been lived with intention. Finally, this chapter is also an opening toward the community, toward the women and men who walk together in this quest for meaning. By sharing our experiences, by telling how we chose to use our time, by inspiring others through our practices, we create a circle of wisdom and strength. It is in this spirit that we invite you to share your experience, to say how you, in your life, are beginning to regain control of your hours, and how that is transforming your daily life. This sharing is a way to learn from each other, to encourage each other, and to create a collective energy around this new awareness. And of course, it is also an invitation to continue this journey with us, to subscribe to The Wise Woman, to come back each time to draw a new dose of inspiration and clarity. For this adventure does not end with a book. It continues in every reflection, in every practice, in every moment where we choose to live differently. Bennett's conclusion is not an end, but a beginning. It is the starting point of a life where every hour counts, where every day becomes an opportunity for growth, and where time ceases to be a constraint to become an ally. Thus, the benefits of better time management are not just measured in visible results, but in the quality of existence itself. Mental clarity, personal development, regained freedom, the ability to offer more to others, all of this is the fruit of a choice repeated day after day, using your 24 hours with consciousness. And the conclusion that stands out, the one that Arnold Bennett leaves us as a legacy, is simple but powerful. We don't need more time. We need a better relationship with time. It is this relationship that defines our life, and it is this that we have the power to transform here and now.